Hey folks, welcome back. Hope you're doing well out there. So in today's video, I wanted to share with you a completely new and different way of understanding your issues that really gets to the heart of what issues are. I want to offer you this understanding because when you shift your understanding of what your issues are, the obvious way to approach healing becomes so much clearer and easier. What I want to share with you today is something you're not going to find anywhere else on YouTube. So please join me. This is highly useful information, highly relevant to your mental health journey, your personal healing journey, your spiritual growth journey. I want you to understand this frame I'm about to share with you. So please join me. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. But before we do, I wanted to just take a moment and give you a little bit of context here about myself for anyone who might be new to the channel, just randomly clicked on this video, new to me, don't know about this work I'm doing here, what this is all about. Let me give you just a little bit of context so you know whether or not you want to listen to the video and listen to me. So I'm a coach and a hypnotherapist. I've been working as a coach and a hypnotherapist for 10 years now at this point. I specialize in kind of deep work that coaches along the edges of how to self-heal, how to DIY your own therapeutic healing journey, especially around trauma, but around issues in general, and how this integrates with psychedelic work and spiritual growth work. So this is really kind of my area of expertise. Just so you know, for a little context, I am a survivor of CPTSD. I have a background in CPTSD I did not know I had for decades. I struggled with trauma patterns, not knowing that that's what it was, and had to figure out how to heal it on my own because I was too poor, like a lot of us with trauma are, to afford therapy, and also didn't have the language or the context. This is, we're talking early 2000s. We didn't have the information we have around this now. I've been using psychedelics personally in just about every context you can imagine, from full-on recreational at festivals to deep ceremonial work, deep spiritual and therapeutic work for 30 years. Okay, so I have a long personal history of psychedelic work, a long personal history of studying spirituality. Kind of all of this combines to give me kind of a perspective, and that's what I'm sharing here on the channel. So don't know if that's going to be relevant to you or not, but just thought I'd give you a little context as to who I am. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this main point about this new understanding of what issues are that really can help you understand what to do to heal a lot more easily. Okay, so let's just get right into the major thing I want to share with you. So I want to give you a different frame of understanding, a different angle to look at your issues and understand them through in a different light. And I think what I'm about to share here, for me, has been a revelation. It's completely reframed the way I approach coaching and hypnotherapy and psychedelic support. It's completely reframed my own understanding of myself, my own issues, my own journey, and my clients. And as I give this to my clients, it's often a profound revelation. Okay, so here's the idea. I want you to think of your issues as psycho-spiritual malnourishment. Okay, let me say that again. Our issues, look around, not just you, every other human being around you, most of our issues boil down, if you can really trace them down to the root, to psycho-spiritual malnourishment. I want you to think about the implications of this for a moment. So if you think of issues through the lens of, say, pathology, like you have a neurochemical imbalance, or you just have a broken brain, or you have a genetic for a particular, mental health struggle issue, right? Especially if you come from a background of trauma, or there's kind of attachment wounding, and you aren't seeing that, you don't know that, and you just think of yourself through this lens of pathology, you're going to try to fix yourself at the level of brain chemistry, or at the level of, I just have this problem and I need to cope with it, or this is just my genetics and I'm fucked, right? It frames you into a really unresourceful, unuseful place in terms of approaching healing. Consider, though, that a lot of times what's at the root of our issues is experiences that we didn't get, that we needed, or some form of improper relating that kind of wounded our sense of self, or sense of relationship, or sense of safety and being well contained in the world, our sense of connection to life, or to ourselves, or to other people. And as we get these wounds at this level of our relationship to everything, ourselves and everything around us, these wounds essentially create distortions in our kind of psyche that turn into malnourishment. Now, think about this for a moment, right? Like, if we think about malnourishment on a physical level, right? If a person grows up not getting essential kind of nutrients or minerals or vitamins that their body needs and their organs need and their cells need to function properly, what happens, right? What happens is that a person in that situation generally will grow up either kind of craving something or kind of stunted in some way, or maybe their brain doesn't quite work right, or their physiology doesn't work right, or they've got brittle bones. There are different things that can happen that are kind of deep structural issues in the body that come out of not being properly nourished. Right. So if we grow up malnourished, this has very real effects on our physiology. Now, I want you to imagine that that same thing is true psychospiritually, that with the mind and with our emotions and, on a spiritual level, if we don't get the proper inputs that we need, if we're not properly nourished, especially when we're young, but throughout the course of our life, what ends up happening is that we get kind of twisted and dysfunctional, and we kind of develop these strange habits and patterns and ways of being, ways of seeing, weird drives, weird needs, weird impulses. We start to get distorted, right? Because we are malnourished at this psychological, spiritual level, right? Now, that can sound really heavy or kind of depressing or a little sad, quite frankly, and kind of is. But the good news about this is if you see yourself through this lens of psychospiritual malnourishment, then the solution is really pretty straightforward. I need to discover where these places are that I'm malnourished, what the experiences that I didn't get were, what the experiences that I got that weren't quite right or that were a bit toxic, in the same way that maybe you got, kind of nutritious food, but it was also loaded with a bunch of pesticides and toxins. How does that mess you up? You start to trace what are these places where I need proper nourishment in my being. And this is the work I do with my clients. This is really, I think, what psychedelic therapy is about in a huge way too. You follow that down to these places of psychospiritual malnourishment and you nourish yourself, right? The beautiful part of this work, from my point of view, and I smile as I say this because it's just, it is beautiful. It's amazing. It's incredible. Is the not so much the figuring out where the malnourishment is and what the pattern that arises out of the malnourishment. That's useful. That's actually kind of interesting. But where it gets really beautiful is in the act of nourishing ourselves or being nourished in these places, and how a therapeutic intervention or healing intervention doesn't have to be this big, dramatic, overwhelming experience like a lot of people kind of think or fear that it will be. Instead, it can be just finding these places and bringing the right resource to these places and nourishing ourselves in just the right way, sometimes repetitively over and over and over. And it takes a little while and a little patience for our body to soak it up and receive it and rewire and kind of re-imprint that kind of back to a baseline of well-being, kind of factory reset, if you want to think of it that way. Sometimes it takes a minute. But if we keep nourishing ourselves in the proper places, and this means listening, paying close attention, being tender, being mindful of the resource we're bringing to these parts in ourselves, but if we nourish ourselves, things correct themselves on their own. I really have come to understand. I was going to say I really believe, but I don't think that's accurate. I've come to see and understand through working with people, through working on myself, through receiving this work. I've come to understand that when we are properly psychologically and spiritually nourished, when we're properly resourced and connected and receiving what we need in the places we need it, our body knows how to correct and right and release and realign, right? It knows how to undo whatever that psychological, spiritual knot in our being is and just let go and come back to center, back to wholeness, right? So thought that I'm having here, I'm going to share this really quick and then we'll kind of wrap the video. I don't want to ramble too much. I do have a tendency to do that. So let me kind of just offer this thought as it's arising here. If you kind of listen to a lot of spiritual stories or kind of folk tales, or even, it's even in pop culture, this idea of the hole in the heart of man, the hole in the heart of a human being, the missing hunger inside a person that drives us to do all the like weird, strange, distorted, crazy things that humanity does, right? I think that hole is psycho spiritual malnourishment. And that when we are properly connected in the places where we need connection, and resource in the places where we need resources, and where that is right and done well, instead of having human being with holes in their being that they're trying to fill with whatever food, or all the vices that people try to fill the emotional hole with, right? Instead of that, you have a human being who is grounded, who is present, who is kind of, instead of trying to consume, is trying to give and share, and is strong and centered and resourced and present, right? So that's a very different way of seeing our issues than thinking about it in terms of symptoms, i.e., I have depression, I have anxiety, I have PTSD triggers, right? Instead of thinking of it in symptoms, or thinking of it in neurochemistry, like I have a serotonin deficiency and I need to take a pill for that, or instead of thinking of it in terms of pathology, like it's a mental disease, right? If we think of it as psycho-spiritual malnourishment, that there are little places where either I was wounded early on, or where maybe my parents or my caregivers or the people around me, my teachers, my peers, didn't know how to show up for me in key moments, in certain ways, in certain places for me, that I really needed it, right? That's, I think, more often what's going on for most of us. Do I think there are exceptions to this frame where maybe this doesn't quite apply as much? Sure, probably. There are probably, this is probably valid for a certain type of therapeutic process and certain sets of problems, and not for others. But I think for the, excuse me, for the vast majority of people, this is kind of a different and really core way of understanding things that I think is so much more straightforward, more accurate, easier to do, and quite frankly, a lot more rewarding and fast. So that's my thoughts about this. I want to share this with you because I care, right? If this resonates for you, just want to leave a quick message here. Yeah, never mind. I'll share that in another video. If this resonates for you, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if this hits home for you. Let me know if this reframes things for you in a useful way or not. Again, this is coming from a very kind of specific school of therapy that I've been studying. That is not the mainstream view. So, again, on YouTube, you will see a lot of therapeutic ideas out there, but this particular idea of psychospiritual malnourishment is unspoken. It's not a meme. It's not a circulating idea. This is a rare, but I think highly accurate, highly useful idea. Anyways, my thoughts, my point for now. Much love to you all. Thank you for watching. And if you like this content, if this is your first time seeing me, do the thing, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, help the algorithm grow the channel. My channel is tiny. I would like to reach more people. So if you have faith in what I'm sharing here with you, and you have faith in my delivery here, do consider helping the channel to grow in whatever little way resonates for you. Okay. Much love to you all. Take care.